The year is 1861. Imagine a nation divided, families torn apart, brother fighting brother. This was America on the brink of the Civil War. The United States, once a beacon of unity, was deeply split. The issue, slavery. The southern states relied on enslaved Africans for their economy. They feared the North wanted to take that away. Tensions were high. Compromise seemed impossible. The nation held its breath. Then, a spark. The first shots fired at Fort Sumter. The Civil War had begun. This war would test America's soul. It would determine the fate of freedom and unity for generations to come. At the heart of the conflict was slavery. It was the foundation of the Southern economy, deeply intertwined with their agricultural practices and social structure. The South fiercely defended it, seeing it as a vital part of their prosperity and way of life. They believed that without slavery, their entire economic system would collapse and their cultural identity would be threatened. Meanwhile, the North, increasingly industrialized and urbanized, viewed slavery as a moral abomination and a stain on the nation's conscience. But it wasn't just about slavery. The conflict was also deeply rooted in economic, social, and political differences. States' rights played a key role too. The South argued that individual states should have the authority to govern themselves without federal interference. They believed that the federal government was overstepping its bounds and infringing on their sovereignty. The South feared that the North, with its growing political power, would impose its will on them, threatening their way of life and economic interests. The abolitionist movement, fighting to end slavery, gained momentum in the North. Activists and reformers rallied against the institution of slavery, calling for its immediate abolition. People like Frederick Douglass, a former slave, spoke out passionately against the injustice, using their voices to inspire change and advocate for freedom. Harriet Tubman, another key figure, risked her life to guide enslaved people to freedom on the Underground Railroad, becoming a symbol of courage and resistance. The nation was a powder keg, with tensions escalating and divisions deepening, and the fuse had been lit, leading to a conflict that would forever change the course of American history. The Confederacy, formed by the Southern states, fired the first shots at Fort Sumter in South Carolina. The Union, composed of the North, vowed to preserve the nation. Battles raged across the land: Bull Run, Shiloh, Antietam, names etched in blood and memory. Each clash brought unimaginable carnage. The reality of war was far more brutal than anyone imagined. At Shiloh, the ground ran red with the blood of over 23,000 casualties in a two-day battle. The horrors of war were becoming all too real. The nation was caught in a whirlwind of destruction, and the worst was yet to come. In July 1863, the fate of the nation hung in the balance at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. For 3 long days, Union and Confederate armies clashed in a battle that would define the war. The fighting was fierce and desperate. Pickett's charge, a desperate Confederate assault on the Union center, ended in disaster. Thousands lay dead or wounded. After 3 days of unimaginable carnage, the Confederates retreated. Gettysburg marked a turning point in the war. The Union had gained the upper hand, but the cost of victory was staggering: over 50,000 casualties. The fields of Gettysburg became a solemn reminder of the war's terrible toll. The Civil War was a clash of ideologies and wills. It also saw the rise of remarkable leaders who left an indelible mark on history. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president, led the Union with unwavering determination. His Gettysburg Address, delivered after the battle, became a timeless testament to freedom and unity. Ulysses S. Grant, a tenacious Union general, rose to prominence with his victories in the West. His relentless pursuit of Robert E. Lee, the brilliant Confederate commander, would ultimately decide the war's outcome. These men, along with countless others, shaped the destiny of a nation. Their decisions and actions echoed through history, shaping the America we know today. Beyond the grand strategies and famous battles lay the personal stories of those who lived and died in the Civil War. These stories, often overshadowed by the larger narrative, reveal the true cost of the conflict. Soldiers on both sides endured unimaginable hardships. They faced not only the enemy, but also the relentless challenges of their environment. They fought in scorching heat and freezing cold, often lacking basic supplies. The elements were as much an adversary as the opposing forces. Letters written home spoke of their longing for loved ones and their fears about the future. These letters were a lifeline, a connection to a world that seemed increasingly distant. One Union soldier wrote to his wife, "I am tired of war." His words captured the exhaustion and despair felt by many. "I am tired of seeing men die," he continued. "The battlefield was a place of unimaginable horror and loss. I just want to come home to you." This simple, heartfelt plea resonated deeply with those who read it. His words echoed the sentiments of countless others caught in the conflict's grip. Each soldier had a story, a family, and dreams that were put on hold. These personal accounts remind us that the Civil War was not just a historical event, it was a deeply human experience filled with pain, sacrifice, and resilience. It was a human tragedy that touched the lives of millions. The echoes of their courage and sacrifice continue to resonate through history, reminding us of the true cost of war. In 1864, Ulysses S. Grant became commander of all Union armies. He launched a relentless campaign against Robert E. Lee's forces in Virginia. Grant understood that to win the war, he had to destroy the Confederacy's ability to fight. He engaged Lee in a series of bloody battles, including the Wilderness and Spotsylvania Courthouse. Although these battles resulted in heavy casualties for both sides, Grant refused to let up. His determination earned him the nickname Unconditional Surrender Grant. Grant's relentless pressure began to wear down the Confederate Army. The South was running out of men and resources. The end was in sight. Victory and loss. The Confederacy crumbles. In April 1865, after a 9-month siege at Petersburg, Virginia, Robert E. Lee's army was forced to evacuate Richmond, the Confederate capital. The end was near. On April 9, 1865, Lee surrendered to Grant at Appomattox Courthouse. The terms were generous. Grant allowed Confederate soldiers to return home with their horses and personal belongings. The Civil War was over. The Union had been preserved. But the cost had been staggering. Over 620,000 soldiers had died, and the South lay in ruins. The nation faced the daunting task of rebuilding and reconciling. The legacy of slavery and the scars of war would linger for generations to come. A nation healed, reconstruction, and its legacy. With the war over, the challenging process of reconstruction began. The South was occupied by Union troops, and efforts were made to integrate formerly enslaved people into society. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery, the 14th Amendment granted citizenship to African Americans, and the 15th Amendment gave black men the right to vote. However, Reconstruction was met with resistance. White Southerners formed groups like the Ku Klux Klan to terrorize African Americans and undermine their newfound rights. The legacy of Reconstruction is complex. While it marked a significant step towards racial equality, it ultimately fell short of its goals. The struggle for civil rights would continue for another century. The enduring significance. Echoes of the Civil War. The Civil War, fought from 1861 to 1865, was a pivotal conflict that forever altered the course of American history. The Civil War was a defining moment in American history. It was a brutal and bloody conflict that pitted brother against brother, neighbor against neighbor, and tested the very fabric of the nation. It tested the nation's values and its commitment to freedom and equality. The war brought about the end of slavery, a monumental step towards justice and human rights. The war's legacy continues to shape America today. From the monuments that dot our landscape to the stories passed down through generations, the Civil War remains a powerful reminder of our past. It reminds us of the fragility of democracy and the importance of preserving our hard-won freedoms. The debates and decisions made during that time still echo in our political discourse today. The Civil War also serves as a reminder of the enduring power of hope. Despite the immense suffering and loss, the nation emerged with a renewed sense of purpose. Despite the horrors of war, Americans emerged from the conflict with a renewed sense of purpose and a commitment to building a more perfect union. The Reconstruction era, though fraught with its own challenges, was a time of rebuilding and redefining the nation. The echoes of the Civil War still resonate in our national consciousness, urging us to learn from the past and strive for a better future. As we reflect on this tumultuous period, we are reminded of the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring quest for justice and equality. Remember and learn lessons from a nation's past. The Civil War was a tragic but transformative chapter in American history. It is our duty to remember the sacrifices made and the lessons learned. By studying the Civil War, we gain a deeper understanding of our nation's past and the challenges it has faced. We learn about the dangers of division, the importance of compromise, and the enduring power of hope. Let us honor the memory of those who fought and died in the Civil War by striving to create a more just and equitable society for all. May we never forget the lessons of our past as we navigate the challenges of the present and the future.